We begin the news at this hour in West Africa, where the military regimes in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have announced their immediate withdrawal from the West African bloc, ECOWAS. The leaders of the three Sahel nations issued a statement saying it was a sovereign decision to leave the Economic Community of West African States without delay. Struggling with terrorism, the regimes have had tense ties with ECOWAS since coups took place in Niger last July, Burkina Faso in 2022, and Mali in 2020. All three were suspended from ECOWAS, with Niger and Mali facing heavy sanctions. They have hardened their positions in recent months and joined forces in an alliance of Sahel states.
Excellences le capitaine Ibrahim Traoré, le colonel Assimi Goïta et le général de brigade Abdourahmane Tchani, respectivement chef d'État du Burkina Faso, de la République du Mali et de la République du Niger, prenant toutes leurs responsabilités devant l'histoire et répondant aux attentes, préoccupations et aspirations de leur population, décident en toute souveraineté du retrait sans délai du Burkina Faso, du Mali et du Niger de la communauté économique des États de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, fait à Ouagadougou, à Bamako et à Niamey le 28 janvier 2024. Merci de votre attention.
Meanwhile, the West African bloc, ECOWAS, says it is ready for a negotiated solution after Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger said they were quitting the group. ECOWAS said the three countries are important members of the community and the bloc remains committed to finding a negotiated solution to the political impasse. ECOWAS said they were yet to receive any direct formal notification from the countries about their withdrawal. We will bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletins, but in a related development, hundreds of people have taken to the streets of Niamey to celebrate the announcements made by the military regimes in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger on their immediate withdrawal from the West African bloc, ECOWAS. The Prime Minister, appointed by Niger's regime on Thursday, blasted ECOWAS for bad faith after the bloc largely shunned a planned meeting in Niamey. ECOWAS blamed an aircraft technical fault in Abuja for the cancellation of its mission to Niger.
Nous sommes là parce que c'est une demande des peuples des États du Sahel pour sanctionner la CEDEAO qui à l'origine était partie pour être une CEDEAO des peuples mais qui s'est avérée être un instrument au service de l'impérialisme français.
Nous sommes libérés de cette CEDEAO-là. Au diable leurs sanctions. Et on considère que dorénavant, il y aura des accords bilatéraux avec les autres États. Donc c'est fini avec cette structure satanique qui veut étouffer le peuple nigérien ou bien le peuple du Sahel parce qu'ils ont décidé de quitter l'impérialisme français, le joug français.
And now in Nigeria, Rivers State Governor Siminilayi Fubara has sworn in its Right Honorable Edison Ehie as Chief of Staff, Government House, Port Harcourt, and 5 special advisors. The appointment of Ehie as Chief of Staff, Government House, was confirmed in a statement signed by Dr. Tammy Danagogo, Secretary to the State Government, on Sunday night. Also, Governor Fubara will equally swear in special advisors who will help him facilitate good governance in the state following a Supreme Court victory last week. Those to be sworn in as special advisors include Dr. Darlington Orji, a former state publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party, who recently resigned as the Chief of Staff, Ikore Local Government Council Area. Others include Prince Solomon Abel Eke, former Caretaker Committee, Chairman Obio Harcourt Local Government Area, Amanaya Nassam Fiberisima, Engineer Dia Barian, and Ohia Prince. To further discuss this, I'm joined by Engineer Bioko Awara, former AAC governorship candidate, Rivers State. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you and good afternoon, Nigerians.
So what do you make of the recent political crisis in Rivers State? As an opposition, what's your take on the Supreme Court's ruling?
They are good. You know, some appointments are made politically to bring stability. As opposition, we are not happy with the Supreme Court ruling, but we just have to accept it for the sake of Rivers State, for Rivers State to be one. the recent appointment, basically, I think, is to checkmate the excesses of some persons that might be a problem in the smooth running of the governmental function of this administration.
So does it seem as though there is still fire on the mountain for Governor Siminilayi Fubara, having to choose people that he believes are loyal to him and will be able to stand as a guard, a rear guard in some instance, looking at his government and possible external threats?
Yes, administratively, yes, there will be like his advisors, people that will stand in for him to checkmate the activities of some persons that might want to work for the failure of this government. If you look at the list, you can actually see the list coming from the major areas where the governor is having oppositions. If you look at the Ikwerre local government, Dr. Darlington Orji is from Ikwerre. It's a voice in our law. It's a voice in Ikwerre local government. Prince Eke is actually in almost the same place with the speaker. So he will checkmate the speaker. And, elections are still coming. If you look at the third person, Barrister Fubara, is to checkmate some people like Dr. Parker, all those people that are with Wiki that want to become inimical to this. So the list is a balanced one. I think it's a welcome development. And it is not to add to the crisis that is still brewing up, but I think these people are actually appointed to take responsibility. Like the last time I spoke with you, I told you a commissioner can be appointed, but his functions, the basic function that we perceive to be, can be assigned to a special advisor. Now, special advisors are on board, like I predicted. And I think these people will become the people that we use. Like the last administration, there were commissioners for work, but Governor Wike appointed this present commissioner for work. And he was the one doing everything as special advisor on special projects. So history is just repeating itself. But I know they are good hands. When they had opportunities, they performed. So I'm not in doubt that they will.
But this might just be a funny scenario playing out in Rivers State, because 3 days ago, the Rivers State Assembly tried as much as possible to strip Governor Fubara of his powers to appoint a local government chairman. So he's trying to checkmate some certain elements that he believes could be a threat to his tenure. And there are other people in some other groups, most especially from the state's legislative house, who are also trying to checkmate him. Don't you think this is going to be a distraction for his administration? And don't you think this will be an unhealthy play out for Rivers State's politics?
When he received the news of the Supreme Court judgment, he said, it is time to face governance. Yes, they signed, they took decision to override the governor's, they vetoed the governor's decisions of not signing into law those bills that are presented to him. But I think there is nothing to worry about. If they said the governor should not appoint caretaker committee chairman, the tenure of these people will come to an end. When it gets to an end, there will be local government election. And new persons will come in. They are not trying to checkmate him. They are not. There's a bill to say financial autonomy of the Rivers State House of Assembly. It's not their right. That is a constitutional issue that needed a constitutional provision when the next amendment will be done to correct that. So that bill is as good as nothing. It's against the Constitution. And these people that have been appointed, I think they are capable hands. Forget about those legislators that do not even know. I don't think they even know why they are there. Their laws are almost inimical to the people. The speaker is somebody that has been controversial ever since he got into the State House of Assembly. So I'm not surprised that more controversial decisions will come up. But I think the governor also has right to carry out executive orders and to correct all this nonsense that is happening. So
Yes,
they cannot streamline his authority. They cannot.
yes, talking about exercising his executive powers, do you think it will increase or probably decrease public confidence in his administration?
I'm in Port Harcourt. I go through the street. His decisions are something that the people always applaud. If he takes a decision that seems to even favor them, the people are angry. You see the way when the president made those write-up to say he should obey, how the people reacted. Anything he does that is inimical to these 26 lawmakers is welcomed in Rivers State. To tell you that they have lost the representative right the people gave them. And very soon you start seeing people being recalled from their seats. So his decisions are welcome. And I think he has taken time to look at the problems of Rivers State and coming up with policies that are progressive to the Rivers people. I think he is taking the right decision at the meantime. I don't know what another presidential directive that will come later, but for now, the ones that are not included in the presidential directives that is doing, they are welcome. I support them.
Engineer Biokpo Awara, thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome, sir. God bless you, sir.
And you too. Over 380 persons were kidnapped between December 1, 2023 and January 3, 2024 across Nigeria under President Bola Tinubu, according to data obtained by the ICIR from the Armed Conflicts Location and Event Data Project, a data bureau collecting data on the locations, dates, actors, fatalities, and types of all reported political violence and protest events worldwide. Those abducted include men, women, farmers, children, and students. The victims were taken hostage at various events that happened during the last year and the first week of this year, illustrating the escalating number of kidnapping cases in the country. Affected states include Anambra, Benue, Cross River, Delta, Enugu, the Federal Capital Territory, Kaduna, Katsina, Kogi, Lagos, and others. Earlier, public affairs analyst Bola Bolawole spoke to us on this development.
Kidnapping has become the order of the day. Hardly a day is passed before you hear cases of this person has been kidnapped, that person has been kidnapped. So it has become a recurring decimal. So it's not something that happens once in a while. It's something that has become part of our culture, part of our daily living. When you leave your home now and you are traveling, you are not sure you will get to where you are going, or if by chance you get there, you are not sure you will not be kidnapped there. If you escape being kidnapped there, you are not sure you will return to your home safe and sound. So it has become an epidemic, and that is why we say that they are not just on the prowl. On the prowl, you steadily, you secretly leap upon your victim. But now they do it openly. They do it in the daytime. They walk into people's homes. They go into even security fortresses, and the impunity, the confidence that they have, the audacity that they have, is why I say that they are now not only on the prowl.
Many thanks for staying with us. Earlier on the news, we told you that hundreds of people have taken to the streets of Niamey to celebrate the announcement made by the military regime in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger on their immediate withdrawal from the West African bloc, that is ECOWAS. But then ECOWAS said it is yet to get an official notification from the three West African states. So at this time, to discuss this, we are being joined by Edwin Yingi, who is a political analyst at the Department of Political Sciences, University of South Africa. Edwin Yingi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for having me.
So it's a bit dicey between Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and ECOWAS. But then How important are these West African countries to the overall economic strength of the bloc, most especially the strength and the stability of the bloc?
Okay, thank you for your question. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced their withdrawal from the economic bloc of West African states. And they stated their reasons why they are withdrawing from the economic bloc. But one thing which should be noted is how important are the three countries to ECOWAS. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, or the three countries, are founding members of the regional bloc. They are founding members 49 years ago in 1970, 1975. And them being founding members, that tells you how important they are to the development of ECOWAS, to what ECOWAS is today. And besides, if you look at their geographical location, they are strategically located in the ECOWAS region or in the bloc. And now that they've withdrawn from the bloc, that actually offset some of the founding principles of ECOWAS. One of it was the free movement of people, and one was regional integration. Now the withdrawal from ECOWAS, though it's not yet clear because it is not in line with the treaty of ECOWAS, but their withdrawal, if it is going to go through, is going to affect the free movement of people in the region. It's also going to affect regional trade, given that the three countries would have withdrawn from the bloc. So those are some of the challenges I see coming along ECOWAS, given this announcement by the three countries that they are withdrawing from ECOWAS. And they are also quite important members when it comes to the security of the region. The region itself is facing quite a number of security threats, and needed a united front to fight these security threats. And now that these countries have withdrawn or given an intention to walk away from the bloc, that is going to present both economic, political, and security challenges to the bloc.
But then, Edwin, it's been argued that the contributions of these three countries to ECOWAS are minimal, looking at the size of their economy. These are landlocked countries. They don't have ports or access to the sea. And talking about security, yes, some people have argued that they usually get help from Germany, France, and some other European countries. And they've told those countries to leave their jurisdiction, to leave their premises. So when we have these countries who do not have, according to some quarters, significant contribution to ECOWAS, they feel that ECOWAS might not really be missing much with their announcements of wanting to withdraw from the bloc. So how do we place that?
It's regional integration is important. No matter the size of their economies, no matter the size of the countries involved. Because what we should also take note of is that this is coming at a time when Africa is pushing for the integration of African markets. No matter the size, no matter the strength of the economy, but them being members of the bloc is important. And this is why I would argue that having them out of the bloc, out of ECOWAS, would not do good to ECOWAS. And of course, yes, they are landlocked. Yes, it's going to affect them because they would need routes to have access to the outside world, and they can also only get those routes via countries such as Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and Ghana. So it's going to affect them also, the withdrawing countries, and also it's going to affect the regional bloc. So it's not a one-way kind of affair, but it affects both ends. And this is why I was saying a united front is what is important. And now coming to the issue of security, for those who have argued that the three countries used to get a lot of security assistance from France, from Germany, and other Western countries, and now they have severed ties with those countries. But this vacuum which has been created by the severance of ties with those countries, we see Russia coming in, and this is going to create chaos in the ECOWAS region, and this chaotic situation is going to aggravate the security situation in the region. So that is my view, and that is my take. It's not
Okay, so
the question of size.
yeah, so Edwin, before I let you go, could this withdrawal lead to the formation of probably an alternative alliance or bloc? Because I recall that they talked about the alliance of the Sahel states. So do you think that they could have such a formidable association or bloc that could thrive within the region?
I would not actually see maybe another bloc coming in and thriving. But what I would see is ECOWAS continuing to negotiate with the three countries, because as it stands right now, ECOWAS says it has not received a formal communication from the members that they are intending to withdraw from the regional body. And if anything, they should give a 1-year notice before the withdrawal is complete.
Okay.
But so it's too early to tell if we are going to see their association as the three countries is going to survive.
All right.
But I have doubts.
Yeah, Edwin Yinge, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, let's move on now. The South African Reserve Bank, SARB, kept its repo rate at 8.25% in a widely expected move at the end of the central bank's first monetary policy committee meeting for 2024. SARB Governor Leseya Kyango confirmed the decision, adding that the prime lending rate of local commercial banks also remains unchanged at 11.75%. At this time, Professor Yanni Russo, Professor of Economics at Wits Business School, University of Witwatersrand, joins me for more on this. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on the news. Professor Russo, if you can hear me, just before I say no surprises here, let me confirm if it is the same way with you. The SARB hiked the interest rate over 10 consecutive months by 475 basis points. Would you say this has effectively tamed inflation?
Yes, in the case of South Africa, the central bank moved ahead of the curve, started raising interest rates in a preemptive way, and as a result of that, managed to get inflation under control quicker than in some other developed countries. We must be very grateful for the success that our central bank achieved in South Africa. Our governor, Mr. Leseya Kyango, has all along said that the Reserve Bank will get inflation back under control.
Well, growth and inflation forecasts were little changed according to what we know since the November rate meeting with the bank said to have been, flagging on Thursday that electricity, port, and rail constraints continue to pose serious risks to the economy. Now, these are issues that must be addressed. So do you think enough is being done to address these issues? And of course, what are your recommendations for SAB and the fiscal authority over this matter?
Well, unfortunately, enough has not been done in respect of our electricity problems and in respect of our port problem. The government has lost control of the process. We've had load shedding with interrupted electricity supply in South Africa since 2008, and our government has not been able to sort that out. We now have problems with on and offloading of freight in our ports, and the government is again not able to sort that out. So these structural problems in our economy remain, but nevertheless, SAB has successfully brought inflation down, will continue to do so, and the next challenge is to make sure that inflation expectations are anchored at the midpoint of our inflation target range at 4.5% per annum.
So does that mean that there's a possibility of seeing inflation slowing down this year?
Yeah, the expectation is that inflation will come down to 4.5% per annum, as I've said, the midpoint of our inflation target range, which is what the SAB targets. And that must then be followed by a similar decline in inflation expectations to make sure that South Africa can keep inflation under control going forward in the months to come.
Professor Yanni Rousseau, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Many thanks for being there. The news continues in East Africa, where Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces group says it has shot down an Iranian-made drone allegedly belonging to the Sudanese army as fighting rages between the two forces in the capital, Khartoum, and other areas. The group said it had successfully intercepted and downed an unmanned aerial vehicle operated by the Sudanese armed forces and its extremist backers from the former regime. The army is yet to comment on the incident. Local media outlets have reported increased drone strikes by the army against RSF positions in Khartoum and the adjacent cities of Omdurman and Bari. The army has stepped up airstrikes against the RSF in recent weeks as fighting continues in the country for the 9th month. Let's also tell you that the United Nations Security Council is due to meet to discuss tensions between Somalia and Ethiopia over a controversial port deal with the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. The Somali State TV reports that the Monday meeting will address concerning events in the Horn of Africa. The row was triggered by Ethiopia signing a memorandum of understanding with Somaliland early this month. The deal gives landlocked Ethiopia access to a seaport for military and commercial purposes. Somalia, which considers Somaliland part of its territory, rejected the deal and accused Ethiopia of violating its sovereignty. Now, authorities in South Sudan's central equatorial state have banned the sale of a popular beer after several people died from consuming the local gin. The local gin, popularly known as Marquis gin, is said to be addictive, mostly to young people. Its consumption reportedly increased during Christmas and New Year celebrations, leading to deaths of an unspecified number of people. The Anglican Church in the capital, Juba, has urged the government to make sure the ban is enforced. The gin was nicknamed after Information Minister Michael Makuei in 2019, who is said to be the most talkative minister in South Sudan. And further in the South, South African former president of Jacob Zuma has been suspended from the African National Congress, ANC, by the highest decision-making body, National Executive Committee of the party, a political party that he was once a leader. His suspension follows an announcement he made in December that he will not be campaigning or voting for the ANC. South Africa will be heading to the polls for the general election this year, and according to the ANC, Zuma not voting or campaigning for the party while a member is a breach of the party's constitution. Zuma has been given 48 hours to respond to allegations leveled against him. To discuss this, we are joined by Professor Sipo Sipi, a political analyst, and he joins me from Gauteng in South Africa. Professor Sipi, it's nice to have you around.
Thank you for inviting me.
So how do you anticipate the suspension of Jacob Zuma, and how do you think that it will impact the African National Congress in the upcoming elections?
The suspension was long coming. There is no doubt that the former president, Jacob Zuma, has violated the constitution of the ANC. The constitution of the ANC considers it to be a misconduct for any member to be engaged in promoting another party and campaigning for another party. And this is what the former president has done, and he has been open about it. But in being open about it, he was, in a sense, inviting this suspension. But doing so, he also knows that any process that involves disciplining would require due process. And the ANC has already initiated this process and has asked him to consider responding to it. And it is in responding to it that he hopes to raise the inconsistencies of the party, because many among members of the party, including those who are in the hierarchy, such as President Ramaphosa, could easily be found to have fallen foul of the very same constitution. So what he wants to do is to expose the hypocrisy of the ANC. Now, what effect will this have? It already has an effect. The mere fact that he has been campaigning very strongly, and the mere fact that the ANC has watched in horror as many people continue to go whenever he is said to be appearing before the crowds. He is a crowd puller. So the ANC had no choice but to proceed with the suspension. But what it has done, it has said the entire process will also be suspended until the elections. So effectively, it is avoiding a situation where the inconsistencies and hypocrisy will be exposed publicly. It would rather wait that the damage is not done before elections. Hence, it's a statement that says it would rather deal with the discipline after the fact.
Professor Sipi, you just said that Jacob Zuma has been campaigning vigorously, and as we see it, it's as though he still has a strong political influence in South Africa. So will this possible suspension in a way lead to a loss of support for the ANC, most especially in KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, definitely. There is no doubt that one of the places where he has a strong support and following is in KZN. But that's also true with other provinces, that there is a form of support. So the ANC is going to find itself almost having its back against the wall, where it has to deal with the local leadership, who themselves are the joining come lately in the political struggle. So to fight against somebody like Jacob Zuma, and especially when that person raises issues that cannot be ignored, we must also understand that it is not only Jacob Zuma who has raised the issue about the ANC that has deviated from its path. It is not only him who has raised the issue about the leadership. The former president of the ANC also, and the president of the country, Thabo Mbeki, has also weighed in to say the ANC as it stands, it's a party that he himself will not be campaigning for, because there is nothing to show. He was also saying, effectively, he is echoing or agreeing with the former president, Jacob Zuma. But there are also members within the ANC who had also raised concerns. So in a sense, this is not an easy case to deal with. It is not about one person. It's also about having to go inside the organization to say, are you being consistent? Are there some people who are being protected because they happen to be in certain positions? Effectively, both former presidents are saying the ANC must be bigger than one person. They are also saying the ANC cannot be seen to be shielding a person who also has been found to be wanting both in terms of the law, but also constitutionally. We have a panel, an independent panel by Parliament that says President Ramaphosa may have been guilty of serious criminal misconduct, as well as misconduct in terms of the constitution of the country. And as a result, he may have brought the party into dispute. The fact that he's brought the country into dispute is something that is accepted. But whether the ANC is willing to say this person also has brought the party into dispute will be some of the issues that will emerge with this process of disciplining Jacob Zuma.
Two things, Professor CP, I'd like to quickly take your reaction on. Number one, do you think that what Jacob Zuma has said in terms of wanting to campaign for another party would lead to a severe internal division within ANC? And two, will that boost the probability or the position of the opposition that he's campaigning for, that the opposition party is campaigning for, to have an upper hand in the coming election?
There is no doubt that the ANC is very divided, and that division expresses itself in government. This is why in the campaign, Ramaphosa has spoken about 30 years of the ANC in power. He is unable to talk about 5 years since he took over, or 7 years since he took over, because he's got nothing to show. What has happened is that the ANC has been busy bickering. Instead of addressing the people's concerns in this country, they are actually busy fighting each other and more concerned about staying in power than in servicing the people. The promises, all the promises that Ramaphosa has actually made had actually failed. We now faced with the serious case of load shedding. You have highest unemployment. South Africa is being considered to be also the global poster child of inequality and poverty. So this is what the ANC will have to explain to the people. But instead of being concerned about that, it is involved in bloodletting. And this is going to cause it and cause the party and empower the opposition, who are already exploiting these divisions.
So finally, what do you think would be the best thing for ANC to do right now, in as much as it is trying to stand its ground and back its constitution as a party? It also is trying to ensure that it does not lose influence within South Africa's political space. So it's more or less like a dilemma for them. What advice do you think would be given to them, most especially going about this particular issue with Jacob Zuma?
Well, there are simple rules that it must follow. It must respect its own constitution. And secondly, it must make sure that when it applies that, it applies it consistently. You cannot have a party that has a constitution that works for some and doesn't work for others. Secondly, we already see that the ANC itself has accepted that it is losing support. The mere fact that it is also talking about coalitions. And what is interesting here, it seems to be more veered to wanting to work with an opposition party that has historically been more concerned about white interest and has been advancing white interest. So you are seeing a party that has lost all forms of revolutionary content. And this is why the black political parties are beginning to find each other, and they are beginning to converge to simply saying, maybe it's time that we show the ANC the door. And we have seen the last elections, both the national elections and the municipal elections, that each time the ANC gets voted, the numbers are going down. So Ramaphosa would have been presiding also on two disastrous elections, the ones that took place in 2019 and 2021. So right now, you have a party that is no longer a party of liberation, but a party that exists only to stay in power.
Okay. Professor Sipo CP, thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
You're welcome.
We now tell you that Haiti's government said on Sunday it remains hopeful for a swift and positive outcome after a Kenyan court ruled against Nairobi's plan to deploy police officers to support the troubled island nation security forces. The ruling on Friday has thrown into doubt the future of a United Nations-backed multinational force long sought by Haiti's government, which has pleaded for international help to confront its spiraling security crisis. Kenya's government had previously said it was ready to provide up to 1,000 personnel, an offer welcomed by the United States and other nations that had ruled out putting their own forces on the ground. The government of Haiti said in a statement on Sunday that it was following developments in Kenya and expects a swift and positive outcome. It added that it would like to thank the many countries that have come forward to offer various types of aid to restore order and security as soon as possible. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we take another look at some of our major stories. ECOWAS ready for negotiated solution as Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger exit bloc. The Haiti government hopeful of police deployment after ruling against Kenya mission. South Africa's ANC suspends former President Jacob Zuma from party. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Omobanjo.